Hello, and welcome to September's Reach Live. I'm Rena Such. I'm the head of digital and connected health at Ipsos. Ipsos are a global market research and insight agency. We collect data and we try to keep a pulse on what's happening within the digital health space. And it's my absolute pleasure to be the presenter of Reach Live, which happens each month with a digital health leader. Please be sure to subscribe to the Reach channels and to our YouTube channel to keep abreast of all the talks that we have. We had a little break for the summer where we showed some highlight reels and all the content's available on demand. And today we have a brand new guest, brand new energy, and really, really pleased to be back for the last quarter of the year. So without further ado, I'd like to invite my guest to be introduced. Ram, hi, welcome to Reach Live.
Hey, hi, Rina. Nice to have be here today. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being with us. Why don't you kick off with an introduction to who you are for those that are listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Ram Chittor. I'm based in Dallas, Texas, and I work for Harman International in their digital technologies solution space. I'm a vice president for the healthcare, hospitality, and industrial verticals of the business. Basically, I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I've been an aerospace engineer, worked in companies like Airbus and Boeing, supporting some of the largest aircraft design programs. And I moved to the healthcare vertical sometime in 2010. And since then, I've been closely associated with the healthcare industry, more specifically in the medical devices industry, and I joined Harman about 6 weeks back. So that's where I am right now.
Yeah, well, 6 weeks, quite still brand new, but we'll talk a bit more about Harman and their role and what they do as a company, because I think that would be really interesting. But firstly, a pattern I've seen a lot with individuals that have a technology background, an engineering background, is how they've approached healthcare coming in. Because often many people today that work in digital health interestingly haven't had an entire career in healthcare unless they're the doctor or the clinician or in fact a patient. So my question to you is, what how's it been? Kind of how was it for you going working from like Airbus to then suddenly thinking about the health system and the way electronic medical records are running and how data streams through and medical devices? Just tell me your personal experience. How has it been?
Absolutely, Reena. So it's a very interesting question of why did I move from that industry to this industry in the first place, right? One thing that I was seeing in early part of 2010 is there was a lot of changes in the consumer industry in the first place. There is a lot of thinking about digital IoTization. The benefits of having a connected device, both at a personal level as well as with the introduction of the iPhone and things like that, I think was coming to fore. And I saw a lot of my customers who were in the aerospace field move into medical technology, and they were talking to me about it, and they said this is the exciting new frontier. There is a lot of innovation to be done here, and I mean, traditionally we have always known that healthcare has been expensive, and there is a lot of innovation that needs to be brought into this space to make care more affordable to more people, make it more accessible to a larger audience, and the quality of the care itself needs to improve quite a bit. So I think basically my interest was that first of all the industry was growing. There is a lot more interest that is coming in from different parts of the industry coming together, and mainly for me, I think it was because I saw an opportunity for innovation across the board in this industry. So that's where I came in.
Yeah. Well, I also feel one of the things that I found most interesting, and I don't know how you feel, is the cycle to launch. So you're on one side where you were part of, the production of things related to aerospace, which can take an incredibly long time. And I've also worked on the other side with drug development, and the clinical trial pathway is long, and get to certain phases of the drug and then the failure rate and what have you, and it's a very expensive, also very difficult space. And so I've worked a lot with the drug companies and understanding drug cycles. And medical device and digital health is different. The
Yeah.
speed to market is incredibly different, right? And how have you found that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That, yeah, it's a very relevant point there. Yeah, I mean, on one side, you have drug development, which takes forever, and that's changing quite a bit. That's something that we saw post pandemic. How quickly the vaccines came into play. I think that was very interesting. But the medical devices itself, when you most of them go through the 510(k) pathway, at least here in the US, and that's a very I mean, I won't say very quick, but at least comparatively quicker compared to the drug development and the aerospace industries. So that's a very interesting piece. And digital health, which sometimes follows the 510(k) pathway and sometimes does not, also is much quicker. I mean, we are talking about anywhere between 18 months to 3 years for a typical device development. And digital health services can be provided in a much shorter time frame as well. And today, the technologies that were used in traditional software vendors space are being brought in. The use of agile methodology to develop digital services faster, as well as using IT OT convergence to bring things a little bit faster. And there is something called DevOps that is coming into play in med devices as well in digital health. So that is something that is creating very quick turnaround times in terms of digital health. So
Yeah, I mean, I've been part of projects. I've been fortunate actually to be part from the beginning and seen things go from the inception of an idea all the way through. And you're right, within 18 months, we had a product to market. I find that
yeah,
like it's fascinating.
fascinating.
There's a whole other topic about success. One thing is identifying a problem and launching a solution. But there's a whole other trial and tribulation about scaling and getting that solution out to market. I do want to get into that a little bit more with you. But let's talk more about Harman and Harman as a company and what work that they're doing specifically in healthcare. How would you summarize the work that your company does?
Sure thing, Reena. So before I get into healthcare, let me introduce Harman to the audience more, right? So Harman is a very interesting company. First of all, we are a fully owned subsidiary of Samsung, which is a global giant, and has a lot of play in healthcare, first of all. So Harman primarily operates in three business segments. The first one is automotive, wherein we build connected cars, digital cockpit, in-car audio, things like that. So we are at the forefront of connecting cars to the overall vehicle to infrastructure ecosystem. So uh, we have a lot of capability in the IoTization of cars in a broad way. The second part of the business is lifestyle audio. This is where we are most well known for in terms of our 20 plus brands. Brands like JBL, Harman Kardon, Mark and Levinson, AKG, etc. So the third part of the business is digital technology solutions, and I'm part of that business. And here we are an industry leading service provider in the healthcare space. So what we do is we do engineering services for our customers across the provider space, pharma, medical devices, and digital health. We also do IP-led solutions where we have our own IP and we build solutions for our customers. We do partner-led solutions wherein we partner with large organizations like Samsung, Microsoft, and other large brands, and then we develop solutions for our healthcare customers. And finally, we also have capability for end-to-end product development, and we put all of this under a LifeWare brand. So what is LifeWare is basically, we have this great engineering capability, and we also have an industrial design and user experience team called Human, which is a global brand in the industrial design space. So we bring both of these together. That is a world-class engineering capability as well as a global, industrial design user experience team. And then basically what we want is the technology to go to the background, and
Mm.
then have the business case come to the fore, and that is what we call as life fair. So that is what we offer in the healthcare space.
It's pretty comprehensive and impressive, actually, and that's one of the wonderful things is the diversity of companies that we now have who are working within healthcare, and you obviously can be inspired by other parts of your business as well, which is I think the great thing because we do need divergent thinking in
Yeah.
healthcare. It's a tough nut to crack, isn't it? Healthcare.
It is. It is. It's a very broad industry, and there are a lot of unique challenges to this industry, which I think we'll slowly solve. But it's a very interesting industry to be, and something that touches everybody's lives on a day-to-day basis. So, we are excited to be part of this, and we definitely want to solve all the problems that are there in this industry.
Yeah, and I believe passion and conviction is a huge part of it for all of us because we know it's challenging, but we know we can also do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about data. So part of what Harman also do and your team does is look at healthcare data.
Yeah.
As someone who works in a company that's all about data, I am very interested in that. So talk to me a little bit more about the complexity of healthcare data. If someone's listening in right now and is very new to healthcare, what are the things that you would say to them to help them understand the complexity, but also some of the solutions that are out there for it?
Absolutely, Reena. So, if you look at data as a overall concept, in the healthcare industry, we have a lot of pockets of data that's generated. Whether it is your patient level data, which is owned by patients themselves. Through your smartwatches or your smart wearables. Then you have hospital level data, which is the patient goes to the provider, they get their different types of data being generated, stored in siloed databases, in the EMRs and EHRs of the world. Then you have data that is developed out of the medical devices, and the drug manufacturers are generating their own data. And then you also have the interactions that happen between the physician and the patient, where there is a lot of data being generated as well. So if you look at this, all of these are in, typically in silos. The biggest problem that we talk about within the healthcare industry is, how do we, open up these silos and have all of this data available to be used by the end patient, or to improve the quality of care. The challenge that the industry has is, you cannot just open this data for a very good reason. We are in an industry which needs a lot of data stewardship, and privacy of data matters a lot. So there is a very good reason why these silos are maintained. But what I've seen, at least in the pandemic and post-pandemic, is, there is a lot of industries that came together, and a lot of data sharing that happened, knowledge sharing that happened, and this kind of opened up the Pandora's box in a way, that we actually don't need to have these silos in place. We can actually work together and bring this solve this problem, right? So I think that is where the overall healthcare data is. So what we do at Harman to kind of solve this problem is, I'll give a case study. So we work with one of the a large organization, whom with whom we are actually helping them in developing, collecting all the prescriptions that are happening across the US. So they have access to about 90% of all the drug prescriptions that happen in the US,
Mhm.
and we help them actually curate that data, make sure that data is usable, and then develop AI ML engines on top of that data. So what this data is used by drug manufacturers, device manufacturers, and even hospitals to actually see what kind of access to care is available to patients, where their market reach is, where they don't have access, and things like that. And that helps them provide better product. So they improve their products based on this data. They also see where access is not there, and then increase that access in that market. So basically we are helping that out through this kind of use case, wherein we are building these AI models for them.
Yes, and it's not an easy task, and I think it's a brilliant move, and that's such a good practical example, right? So we can understand where prescription rates are going, which demographic are they going to and from, and then we can target our resources more effectively. Because when we
Correct.
know what's happening with our drug prescriptions, or when we know what's happening with treatment, we can also see what's not happening, which is
Yeah,
equally important.
important.
And
Yeah,
there's plenty of data to show us that certain populations are not accessing health the way they should be. They're not repeating their prescriptions in the way that they ultimately should be. Their outcomes for their health therefore become deteriorated, become worse. And that's a cost. That's a huge cost to the payer, a huge cost to the system. And all the work that's being done right now into embedding better data and insight and developing artificial intelligence based algorithms which can refine and make things efficient is the future of health, right? If I
yeah,
think about, we've got record numbers of clinician burnout. We have a lot of inefficiency in the health system. Unfortunately, we have huge waiting times for appointments, for being seen for your health. And if we can unlock the potential of healthcare by harnessing the data that we have and creating AI based solutions which can help clinicians do their work more effectively and help insurers and payers and insurers divert their budgets appropriately, we can make huge strides in healthcare. But one thing I would be wrong not to raise is the issue of data quality. Everything's as good as what you put in. We have what we have, and we have some gaps. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with bias of data? How do we deal with the challenges of gaps in data?
yeah, absolutely, Reena. So, I mean, these are really complex problems if you look at it. I mean, I was seeing the other day in one of the LinkedIn posts, one of the data scientists said, there are at least 36 different ways or 360 different ways in which Connecticut is spelled, by patients, and they have to look through that data and then figure out what is Connecticut. And the machine learning models don't. I mean, they find new things every day, right? So that's a very simple way to look at data quality, right? What we type in sometimes is misinterpreted, and it can just if you misinterpret in one way, then there's a whole bias that can be brought in. So it is a big problem, and data quality assurance is something that we offer as a service. So that is when we have large big data that is coming in, and large streams of data coming in from different sources. So we have a methodology in which we apply digital technologies to curate that data and make that available to enterprises in a way, in a shape and form that they can use. What we are also investing in as a company is developing something called an intelligent healthcare data platform. So what this is basically helping out customers, break out these silos of data that they have, take them to the cloud, basically to help them access it from anywhere, any place, by anyone, kind of a thing. Giving the necessary cybersecurity, measures to help protect the data. Then building a unified view at an enterprise level, whether it's a IDN, or whether it's a medical devices provider or a pharma company. So it gives them an enterprise view of all the data that they have, which is a curated set of data. And then we help them build analytics applications on top of that as part of this overall platform. And we have some AI/ML models that are already built, which can be reused. And basically the idea is to help them make faster decision making,
Hmm.
for whatever they are trying to do. And you mentioned the physician fatigue and caregiver fatigue, which is a very very real thing
Yeah.
today. And I'm seeing a lot of business applications today being built to take away a lot of mundane tasks away from the caregiver, away from the doctor, and make more, spend time on decision making. You know, so one of the very quickly, let me talk about a case study that we did as well. It's a very interesting one, wherein we built a command center for a large hospital, wherein we call it the wall of analytics. Okay, so it looks at simple things like patient flow within a hospital, or the physician flow. Where from physical movement of a physician from one place to another, and caregiver flow. How are the nurses moving from one place to the other? Are they in the same location, or they are being asked to move across different locations? We also look at the availability of the various assets that they have in terms of the OR, the emergency room, the ICU. Are beds available at all times? So we look at all of this data, and we look at historical patterns of how they've been used, all these different resources, and then we provide on a real-time basis suggestions using AI to tell the hospital administration where every resource needs to be and how they need to be allocated. So this basically saved the hospital quite a bit of time and money in terms of reduced ICU utilization, the reduction in the overall onboarding of patients into these different facilities, as well as a grouping of patients according to their care pathways, so they don't have to you know go in converging, I mean diverging locations and things like that. So this also helped doctors and caregivers. It made their daily routine much more easier, and they didn't have to run between buildings, between procedures and things like that. So just wanted to throw in that example as well.
That's a really strong ROI. Because how do we show value of all the work, right? And it's very tangible things that you've just said are showing value, right? If we are unlocking clinician time, we are helping efficiencies and where patients are directed, and we're ultimately, changing the pathway to be more efficient. It's huge. It's a huge cost saving. And if we look at the investment space this year, which has had a slight slowdown after a huge surgence last year with post, I can't even say post, but with the pandemic.
Yeah.
One of the biggest areas of investment has been workflow efficiency. So exactly the example you just gave is without a doubt where a lot of eyes are right now. And it's also what doctors are really asking for. We run a study called Digital Doctor, which runs every 2 years. And we always ask clinicians, where are they on remote patient monitoring, telehealth, virtual care, but also what do they want from the technology and what have you. And without doubt, workflow and help me be smarter, help me make things more effective for my patients, and empower my patients appropriately comes to the top for what doctors are looking for. However, scalability, I feel we have, and I feel the example you gave is so strong. The desire is, can we have that happening across the board? So, what are the signals in the market for you for that? Where are you seeing that this type is everyone on board? Are we going to see this type of thing scaling out across hospital systems? What's your view on that?
So that's a very good question, and something that we discuss with our customers day in and day out. That is, I would call it the ROI of digital, or ROI of data based healthcare. So I think the biggest use case that we have seen for this is the pandemic itself. The two biggest buzzwords that came through the pandemic were telemedicine and virtual care, and almost I mean it was almost companies which invested in that before really reaped the benefit and were able to provide the care that was necessary at that point in time, and companies that did not invest, right? So I think most of the boards now realize that these kind of it's not a black swan event, the pandemic. It's something that's going to happen increasingly in the future, and we need to be ready for it. And the world has changed. So I think the conversations we were having 2 years earlier, wherein we had to first prove out the return on investment for some of these digital investments, are no longer being asked for. I mean, most of them realize it. I think most of the boards are very well aligned with this. And so we are seeing definitely a lot more conversations in the market about digital interventions, how they can have a common data strategy, enterprise level data strategy. They are talking about virtual care platforms. I mean, we have an industry leading virtual care platform called RCP, remote care platform. And that is something that is picking up again in conversations. And it is basically an accelerator for somebody who wants to set up a telemedicine practice or a virtual care practice. I think we are seeing that movement in the market, and definitely, I'm saying post pandemic because I saw an interview yesterday by Biden, who said, we are done with the pandemic. We still are working on COVID, but it is done. So, so I'm using that word. But yeah, I think definitely there is a lot of interest across boards to spend on digital now.
And it makes sense. I mean, we have definitely seen people be pushed into a behavior that they were resisting, but also seen a benefit of it. And perhaps I think one of the things I hope you agree, I think is true, is that we're going to see appropriate use. You know, virtual care is not for every consultation, for every type of thing. It's there for appropriate use over time, and it can do such benefits for the individual, for the family, and for the clinician. But we still have a huge way to go in terms of implementation and people saying they want to do it to taking on the challenge of doing it. So let's be hopeful in these final few minutes. What will the future look like? If we keep going the way we're going, those conversations continue as they are, what's the future of data in health going to look like?
It's a very good question, Rina. And I mean, from my vantage point or from our organization's vantage point of looking across the industry, from the provider space to the payer space to the medical and pharma companies to digital health organizations. So we are having these conversations on a day-to-day basis. So I'm extremely optimistic about the use of data to lower the cost of care, to improve health equity, and most importantly, I think data will be used in improving the quality of care, right? So mistakes will be identified earlier. I mean, we have all kinds of issues in the healthcare delivery today, wherein the wrong drug is given to the wrong patient, or the wrong procedure is given to the wrong patient. All of that will go away. I'm very hopeful about that. I see the very ubiquitous use of AI for every aspect of care delivery. Like we spoke about how doctors and caregivers will not be doing a lot of mundane tasks. They will be doing more decision making kind of activities, and they'll be able to treat more patients per day. Both using these virtual care capabilities, as well as AI taking over a lot of their routine tasks. I also see data increasingly being used in machine learning of data being used for improving the next generation of medical devices, and also it's used a lot in the drug development space as well. And shortening of clinical trials using decentralized clinical trials, that's something that is becoming mainstream now. I also see the coming of patient digital twins. So digital twin of a patient for the audience is basically a digital avatar of your current physical appearance, and basically it will be used for deciding better care pathways. The surgeon can look at your digital twin and decide, look at various options and see what happens. So if then scenarios can be made, and developing preventive care protocols for patients using the digital twin, and most importantly, I think delivering a personalized medicine will happen in the very very near future. But more importantly, what I'm seeing is the convergence of all these different innovations from different industries. It's going to significantly lower the cost of care. I think in the order of magnitude, it's going to come down, and then increase care availability. More patients are going to be having access to care, and there'll be, we'll be able to provide predictable care outcomes to patients. So I think all of this is something that I'm very hopeful of seeing, not in the very distant future. I'm talking about the next 2 to 3 years. And at Harman we are actually working on a lot of these, in advancing
Mm.
this future. First of all, we are helping build the next generation of medical devices end to end. through our various accelerators, looking at past data for that. We have an industry-leading remote care platform, which is being increasingly implemented. We are using some ready-to-use AI/ML models, to help build some data analytics use cases for our customers. And then finally, the overall intelligent data, healthcare data platform that we are building, and we are investing quite a bit on it,
Hmm.
is something that is helping accelerate this future as well. So I'm overall very, very optimistic about this, Reena.
Oh yeah, I mean, plenty of predictions there, and very viable ones. I'm with you, Ram. I'm with you. I think it's all viable because it's happening. That's the
Yes.
reality. That's the exciting thing. These are proof points that are happening. So reduction of errors, absolutely. Better quality care should be happening. More efficiency in our system. Greater speed to market, whether it's device in form of app, wearable, or medical, all the way through to faster trials of drugs through the advent of technology, and ultimately a more empowered individual and citizen who will have a better healthcare experience through all the work that's being done. So thank you so much, Ram. Thank you for sharing with us Harman's vision and work, practical work that you're doing on the ground, and some of the challenges that we have still with how we look at healthcare data and how we manage it. It's been I mean, I love talking about data. It's been great. Thank you so much for your time and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Reena. Thank you for having me. It was a great conversation on a Monday morning. So, looking forward to more such discussions in the future as well. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you
your
so
work.
much. Thank you, Ram. Thank you. And to those viewing, please do subscribe to Reach Live. We're here on the last Friday of every month on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and you can stream us also on demand. So do stay in touch with us, and we'll be at all the upcoming events too that are happening with the digital health industry. Catch Reach at the HLTH conference, catch us at the upcoming European events that are happening too. And thank you for joining us today. Thank you.